All right. Well, welcome to this Tuesday, August 19th board meeting. Our first agenda item. Well, first we'll say, prayers for Chairman Gomez. He had surgery on the shoulder yesterday, and so he's at home recovering. And so anyway, he'll be online today. Well, our first agenda item is the Pledge of Allegiance. Will you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Supervisor Worm. And we'll move into the next agenda item, call to the public. Anybody in call to the public that'd like to address the board?
Oh, yeah, I've signed it. Do I come up?
Yep.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh,
State your name and where you're from.
so my name is Marianne Weaver. I'm from Clifton, but I am the property manager of Duncan Heights now. I'm kind of cleaning up 14 years of neglect. Duncan Heights is actually a nonprofit. They have their 501c. And we're also one of the very few low income apartments that even can rent to whether you're low income, whether you're no income or you're moderate. We've got people there that are single mothers that barely are making ends. And then we have a couple others that work for Freeport. Back in 82, Duncan Heights, the property was actually donated to I guess the county. And somehow it ended up into our nonprofit, from what I'm finding is there was like over 65 acres that was donated, and we're on top of the hill in Duncan. We're out of the flood zone. Well, they only built those 54 units. That was supposed to be the first phase. And that first phase was supposed to eventually build on. Well, we have about 55 to 60 acres up there that are still vacant. I recently come across the action plan doing my, trying to figure out a way to reinsert Duncan Heights back into the community, bring us back into the limelight. I'm trying to do some more events up there and get some funds coming in for Duncan Heights. And I happen to notice that you guys are looking at property, in flood zones or other areas. And the reason why I wanted to come and kind of put myself out there was, and I hate public speaking, is solely based on the fact of you guys are trying to build units for low income and moderate income. And you're looking at a place over there by the fairgrounds and other places where they're all in flood zones. We have pretty much that whole top hill with all these acres that were donated to us. And I'm trying to, whether it's with Town of Duncan and the county, to bring us all together. And hopefully we can go on further and we can just expand out. We can make that whole top hill add on to what's already there. I mean, that's just kind of my opinion, and that's the whole reason I'm coming to the public. I am partnering with I'm doing like the Duncan Library. I've been working with them about doing a book club. Mr. Ellison, the Women's Club, we're going to do the trunk or treat up there at October. I've been trying to get real open about on our Facebook, even down to telling them because I am a notary, they can come when I'm there. We're really trying to give Duncan Heights a more positive influence than what it has been. And so I wanted to come to the Board of Supervisors and hopefully we can go in that direction. I understand you guys can't respond right now, but maybe in the future, because I am looking at grants. There's one with Sago for, their grant is for something that's already there, if it's just to be revamped or remodeled, and we already have a structure there that's been there since 83. So I'm going to be putting in for that and putting in with some other grants. I'm in the process of talking with United Way to put Duncan Heights on United Way. So Duncan Heights stops being overshadowed. It's been the only one in Greenlee County that wasn't linked to Freeport and older than I am, because it opened in 83. I was born in 85. So I just want to see it flourish. And I think the community members really deserve to have it. And if it can mitigate the situation with the housing crisis that we're having in Greenlee, because there is a false narrative when it comes to Greenlee County about housing. people think, oh, because it's Freeport, we have all this money, and that's not the case. That's only a portion of it. We need to get away from that false, narrative pertaining to what Greenlee is. And I know as a community, we can all work together. And also, if anyone can think of ideas for events that we could host up there, I'm all ears. I'm all for it. So please come and let me know.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.
And Derek, if you follow up and maybe look into the likelihood of that, and I know there's a meeting scheduled, so
Sure.
or a meeting requested. Awesome. Thank you. Anybody else would call to the public? And call to the public is really weird because we can't respond. We can listen all we want, but we can't respond back. So anyway, nobody else called the public? All right, we'll move on to agenda item 2, the Public Health Service District. The Board of Supervisors will convene as the Board of Directors of the Greenlee County Public Health Service District and will reconvene as the Board of Supervisors following consideration of the following items. Consent agenda.
I move that we adopt the consent agenda as noted and as listed.
I second that motion.
All right, been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Right.
Aye, motion passes. All right. Now we will reconvene as the Board of Supervisors. Then we will go to agenda item 3, Flood Control District. The Board of Supervisors will convene as the Board of Directors of the Greenlee County Flood Control District and will reconvene as the Board of Supervisors following consideration of the following item. Consent agenda.
I move that we approve the consent agenda as noted.
I second that motion.
All right, been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. All right, we'll move into agenda item 4. Robert Snyder, auditor with Snyder and Brown CPAs, and this is the Renee show.
Mr. Snyder's just joined the meeting, and I believe he is joined by a member of the Auditor General team as well.
Good morning.
There they are.
So this is a presentation regarding the results of the fiscal year 2023 audit.
Correct.
That is correct. Carla, would you like to go first, or do you want me to? We usually touch base beforehand.
Sure, Robert. Let me go ahead and kick off the introduction and we'll get started.
Perfect.
Yeah, let's see if we can get your volume up a little bit. Not that we don't love to hear your murmurings, but we'd actually like to hear your words too.
All right. Well, you let me know when it sounds good. So good morning, Chairman, members of the board. Hopefully you're hearing me okay. My name is Carla Wall, and I'm a technical manager with the Arizona Auditor General's office. On behalf of the Auditor General, we appreciate the opportunity to meet with you today and to have our contract auditor, Mr. Robert Snyder with Snyder and Brown, join us in presenting the county's fiscal year 2023 audit results to you. Thank you again for having us. Before Mr. Snyder presents the county's fiscal year 2023 audit results to you, I'd like to briefly explain our role as it relates to the audit process. The Arizona Auditor General is responsible for conducting annual audits of all Arizona counties or for causing those audits to be conducted. We sometimes contract audits due to our staffing levels and other audit demands. And when we contract county audits, we ensure that we select qualified CPA firms with experience in auditing counties and understand how they operate within the state of Arizona. As I mentioned, we have contracted with Snyder and Brown for the county's fiscal year 2023 audit. As part of our responsibilities related to the county's audit, we work with and provide direction to Robert and his team as needed throughout the audit. Once the audit's in its final stages, we review the county's draft audit reports, which are prepared by Snyder and Brown, to help ensure that those audit reports meet the applicable standards and that the auditor's opinions expressed within those reports are consistent with the financial statements and any reported findings. So with that, I want to thank you again for your time. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Robert, and he'll discuss the county's 2023 audit results with you. Thank you.
Mr. Snyder, we'd only ask that you speak up loud and clearly.
I think I can do that. I hope you guys can see my my screen.
We can.
Very good. Okay. Well, thank you, Carla. I appreciate that introduction. As part of our audit, without going into some detail, I mean, the audit is comprised of really two components. There's the single audit, which is your audit over your federal awards, and then there's the audit over your financial statements. And within that audit of the financial statements and the audit over your federal awards, the only part that's really ours that we take ownership of as auditors is the independent auditor's report. And, otherwise, we don't own the financial statements. We might provide some guidance and things like that in the preparation of those financial statements, but those are prepared by your outsourced CPA. If we prepared those ourselves and did all the work, then we'd be auditing our own work, and that wouldn't make any sense, of course. So I wanted to break down the audit opinion a little bit, because that's really what we're engaged to provide for the county. Management has the responsibility of these financial statements and presenting these financial statements in accordance with the accounting principles generally accepted in the United States of America. Our responsibility is to follow generally accepted auditing standards. In addition, because you receive federal funding, we are also required to follow government auditing standards, which is a slightly more robust set of standards that we're required to follow when we provide these types of audit reports. We were able to provide an unmodified opinion on your financial statements for the year ended June 30th, 2023. An unmodified opinion is kind of, the wording's a little strange. It's if it was a bad opinion, we'd have to modify it. So an unmodified opinion is the highest form of assurance that an auditor can provide. It's a clean opinion. And then within that audit report, there was an emphasis of a matter because the county had to adopt a new accounting standard during the year. And it related to recording an asset and a liability for long-term subscription agreements for information technology agreements. So it was a slight change to your financial statements for the year ended June 30th, 2023. And so that's the financial statement audit. And we do have some items that we're required to communicate to the board, to those charged with governance. Qualitative aspects of accounting practices. Within your financial statements, we analyze the footnotes, which are the disclosures that follow the actual financial statements themselves. We determined that they appeared to be clear. There was no unusual transactions for which there was not clear guidance. And there was no, other than that new accounting standard that I mentioned in the previous slide, there was nothing, they were consistent between years. So there's nothing unusual in your financial statements that we identified. We had no difficulties during the performance of the audit that are, significant, that need to be discussed. We did have audit adjustments. These audit adjustments were proposed and accepted by management and reflected in the final audited financial statements. And these audit adjustments were to correct due from other governments, accounts payable, and capital assets. And we had no disagreements with management. As I mentioned, the financial statements ultimately are the responsibility. Even though we provide an opinion, that doesn't relieve management of the responsibility for those financial statements. So at the end of an audit, we request a management representation letter, and what this letter entails is it says that, to the best of our knowledge and belief, these financial statements are correct, and we provided you all the information you asked for, and then management of the county signs that and provides that to us. It's basically attesting to your ownership of those financial statements. And then, to our knowledge, there were no real management consultations with other independent accountants. And other findings or issues, nothing noteworthy for this component. We did have some audit findings that I will discuss here on the next slide. And that's the financial statement side of your audit. The second part of your audit is your single audit, your compliance audit over your federal awards. Sorry, my slides are a little jumpy here. When we're performing a compliance audit, we take your CFA, which is your list of the 2023 expenditures of all of your federal awards. And we're required to go through a process and determine what we feel are the major federal programs. And this is not just based on dollar amount. It's based on risk assessment, what we think is more risky than other things, what's been audited in the past versus what has not been audited in the past. And at the end of that, we selected the COVID-19, coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery funds, the local assistance and tribal consistency fund, and the watershed protection and flood prevention programs as your major federal programs. This is not all of your federal programs, but those are the ones that we test because we consider them major as part of the single audit. And we had an unmodified opinion again on those, on compliance with those major federal programs. Now, an unmodified opinion means that we believe that the county complied in all material respects with the major compliance requirements of those programs. However, we still had findings over a couple of those federal programs. They were not so great of findings that we were unable to give an opinion. So within the single audit reporting package, you'll see two sections of findings. One is the financial statement finding, and then there's the federal award finding. I'm going to skip the financial statement and go down to the federal awards for a moment, because as I mentioned, even though we had unmodified opinion on your major federal programs, we still had a couple of findings. And one finding was that the single audit reporting package was not timely, and that relates to a financial statement finding that we'll get to shortly. And then you also had some inaccurate reporting of federal expenditures by time period. And this was kind of a bad deal for the county because the grantor, there was a mistake. The county caught it, but the grantor was not able to, told you to fix it in the next year. But we're kind of stuck as auditors, and the report was incorrect that we looked at. So we had to write this finding. So we consider these to be significant deficiencies in your internal control over those major federal programs. Now, if they were material weaknesses, that would probably have given rise to a modified opinion on your compliance. But because they were only significant deficiencies, we were still able to give a clean opinion on whether or not you complied in all material respects with the compliance requirements of those major programs. You also had some financial statement findings. The repeat finding, the first one, cash monitoring. This relates to some differences in the reconciliation between the general ledger, your trial balance accounts within your system, and the final reconciled balance of all your cash accounts, and that some accounts are not properly monitored and tracked and reconciled within your system, such as the courts and a sheriff account, I believe. Nothing overly material, otherwise we wouldn't have been able to give a clean opinion on your financial statements, but there's still, I think it's room for improvement with those various cash accounts. And this is also a repeat finding that the credit card approval and documented purpose, we were pretty hard on the policies on the credit as auditors, because we believe it's so important. The county does have policies and procedures in place to require forms to be filled out, and in certain cases reviewed by either the chief financial, Renee, or Derek. However, there's still times where there's not a documented purpose written on these forms with the actual person that purchased the items attesting somewhere that, hey, this is a really good control, I believe, is to have somebody that's making these purchases sign their name saying that these purchases are in accordance with county policy and in the best interest of the county. It really gives people pause when they have to sign a document. Now, I'm not saying I believe that anything was fraudulent, but I do think that the controls could be strengthened a little bit with these credit card. Probably the biggest finding is this timely account reconciliation and financial statement preparation. Now, as you're aware, the 2023 audit was not completed until May of 2025. And a large reason for this is that we didn't receive the information to begin the audit until well into 2024. Like mid to late 2024 is when the information was ready for us to even begin the 2023 audit. So that's obviously an issue that needs to be worked on and strengthened. So I think that unless there's any questions, I think that is all I wanted to go over.
Did anybody have any questions, Will?
No questions for me. Thank you. Appears
Great,
the
thank
audit
you.
went very well.
Working for me. Okay, Renee, you got any? Okay. Well, good. Well, thank you very much. Thank you for going over all that. That's a lot of data. I know that continuous improvement is always what we're striving for. So as you guys find deficiencies or things, thank you for reporting that so that we can do better the next year. So I'm
Very
sure
good. That's the name of the game, right?
absolutely. Okay, good. Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you and have a good rest of the day.
All right, you too. Renee, you mind turning the lights back on?
Yeah.
All right.
That'll do right there. We're gonna have another presentation.
Oh, that's
here.
right. Well, I appreciate you guys going through that. I know that I felt hearing impaired most of the time, but I am. So, but they got it corrected right there at the last minute, so we got to hear the the end part. So, well, thank you for that, and thank you for going over those fiscal year audits again. That's something that we would need to continue to improve on. And if they don't find anything, then we don't know what to improve on. So move on to the next agenda item. Sabrina Dumas, County Librarian, presentation on the 2024-2025 report of the Greenlee County Library System. Thank you and
morning.
welcome. Morning.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's nice to see everybody here. Thank you. So my goal today is to find out if you have any questions about that report.
No.
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 So
Very
everybody here
detailed.
read that riveting report. So if there are no questions on that, what I decided to do was try to bring that report to life. So I made you a little PowerPoint.
Awesome.
So enjoy.
Do you want to just go through it, or do you want to narrate it as we go?
Actually, it's supposed to have some music and it's 1:15, so don't blink.
Well, we're not great with sound,
Okay,
but
But you're welcome to sing, Sabrina.
trust me, I can't even carry a tune in a bucket and choir, seriously. They said I could mouth it, so I did.
I am so sorry that this I've got your
Okay.
PowerPoint going, but not anything else.
Okay, can I come over there or?
You are welcome to.
Okay, you should be able to click on, I think it's this.
Now I think I've lost the entire presentation, so hold on. We'll get back there and have it working in just a second.
technology is wonderful as when it works.
When it works.
So
Well, I didn't really want to.
This.
we're gonna get there.
Completely different than what they trained me on. Okay, so here, let's see,
All right, you're welcome to come drive over here if that will help.
bear with me.
And I really do hope it works.
Okay, so they said, look for the 3 little dots and the whole thing like that. Thank you. All right, so give me 1 second. See, 3 little dots. And then. Oh, bear with me. All right, well, I guess I'll just talk through it. It's oh, so I can just stay here.
You may stay here, you bet, and just hit the forward arrow and it'll click along.
All right, so we have a lot of amazing partners here. Okay, thanks. As you can see, a remarkable amount of support for our libraries, and it's incredible. So Pearson VUE right there is probably one that people are not real familiar with. That's our GED testing. So the Clifton Library is a approved testing site for finals for GEDs. And Crystal comes over from the school superintendent office and does the testing over there. It's awesome. So here are our library board members, our library directors, myself, the county librarian. We also this year had 177 volunteers that did 332 volunteer hours at our libraries.
Go ahead.
Okay. We do have a significant amount of online resources. You can find these at greenleelibraries.org. That's our website. That's where you can download ebooks, audiobooks, magazines, and music. All of that is for free. We have learning and research databases. You can even find the practice test for Arizona driving. So if you have anybody needing to get their license, if they pass all these tests, they'll pass that one. So we have a tremendous amount of community links. That's where our events calendar is. And there's some fun and interesting stuff on there also. The website, I've gone with the new company, Cyber Optic. I have my training for that next month. And then we'll have, no, that's going to be Thursday. And then, because we have a deadline of October 1st to get that website up and running. So we will be way ahead of that deadline.
Can I ask a quick question?
Of course.
Do you have the CDL tests also for the?
Yes,
Wow.
the practice test. They're all the practice tests are there, and motorcycles. So pretty neat. So 13,052 library users, 10,787 items were checked out. So we had 72 community meetings. That's where the public uses our library facilities with 355 attendees. We had 268 library programs, 3,138 attendees, all ages. Here's some pictures of story time. Bubbles are one of the most requested items from the age group 0 to 5. So the middle picture is a Duncan Library story time. And then with all the construction over here at the Clifton Library, we had to move our story time over to the train depot. So the one on your right is at the train depot. We're not going to stop. So we did this year have a chess camp, and then these girls earned their certificate. So we did have chess on a regular basis every Tuesday at 10. So that was fun. Summer reading program on the left there. The kids were traveling the world, adventures. And so they made a little train and they would go around. The one in the middle is part of Duncan's story time. They made their little crowns. And then Smokey the Bear came and visited. The kids loved him. Kids cooking is an annual thing we do. So this one's at the Clifton Library. On the right-hand side, the instructor there in the green bandana, that's Britta. So on that particular day, they were learning knife skills, the proper way to hold them and cut with them. More kids cooking. On the left-hand side is Duncan And then you can see on the right-hand side, they made little celery bugs that they could eat. So we have several book clubs. We even had a team book club, but this one was really fun. Big in Japan. This is a local author. Some of you probably know her, and Jennifer Griffith. And yes, they are wearing real authentic kimonos. They had a super great time on that one. So we had a lot of library activities. We have quick sketches where you take just any normal object, image of it, and then add eyes and ears and action and movement. And so quick sketches is really fun. Then the pumpkins right there, that's called felting. So everybody learned a new way to make a craft, and you actually have this ball of felt, and then I didn't really do very good at that, but you shape it and it came out to these little pumpkins and wreaths. It was amazing. And then on the right-hand side, that is diamond art. So you have these little sequins that you stick onto these, and those are coasters that everybody made. So everybody's learning some new techniques. We had a lot of library activities. This is very small representation. So we have a crochet group. So they also learned to crochet pumpkins, and we're part of the Project Linus, which is also a program that people can donate handcrafted blankets. And these blankets are giving to emergency services and hospitals and different clinics to give to children at a time of need. So, and they get to keep their blankets. So our libraries are drop-off points for blankets. So if you know anybody that would like to donate a blanket, just bring them to the library. They have to be handcrafted though. So Duncan Library had a real fun wrapping station. So you could actually go up there and wrap your presents for Christmas. We had seed saving workshops at all the libraries, gardening workshops, there's quick sketches, and Morning Mayhem, that's in Duncan. That is where the kids learned a lot of their gross motor skills and balance, and it was kind of like a bit more focused on a story time. So that was really fun. And all of our programs at ages 0 to 5, they need to bring their caregiver with them. Those children are not old enough to be dropped off. So the caregivers get to do everything the kids do. And so I would like to leave with this message: Greenlee County Library System, more than just books.
Well, that's pretty obvious by those examples that you showed, that it is more than just people going in and get books. And even the amount of people, when you're talking, yes, serving 13,072 or whatever, but only 10,000 of those checked out books. So those other 3,000 are doing something else.
Yeah, and one thing I forgot to tell you, our libraries also have a library of themes. And so this is where you can come in with your library card and check out things like STEM kits. Real popular are the adventure backpacks, and they're a nice heavy duty canvas backpack that set up 3 different ways. One for birding, actually has the binoculars, the birding books in it, and then rock hounding has that big hammer and all the parts that go with it. And then for stargazing, which is a telescope and all that kind of stuff. So we have a lot of things like that. Games, we have what are called basic skill backpacks. And so like they're all themed. So there's like, if they need to learn their numbers or their ABCs or emotions and all of that. So if they go through all those backpacks, they're ready for kindergarten.
That's
Did-
awesome.
Another question, did the air conditioning get worked out down in Duncan?
Yes, and I'm always say that's really cool.
Mhm.
Good, so that's,
Everybody's aware, but the county kicked in the $10,000 that the Duncan Library needed to replace their HVAC system. So
that's working and going and everything's good.
yeah, as far as I know, it's beautiful.
Great news.
And this is the understatement of the year, how appreciated that is. So thank you.
We appreciate you asking and letting us help.
Yes, absolutely.
So there's just so much, I can ramble on a long time, so sometimes you have to tell me. And I will.
No, thank you. And we could tell, the love you have for the kids and even for the adults that are
Yes.
participating in those. I mean, it's great that they have a place to go and and participate in activities and share thoughts, share their gifts, share crafts and learn something new. So that's, there's.
Maybe those emotions backpacks would be good for all of us to read through.
Yeah.
Yes.
Then with those comes an optional, your choice if you want one or not, but the actual hiking stick.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you've got to get in there. One young boy told me, and that was the whole reason he wanted to come visit grandma this summer, so he could come get an adventure backpack, because he found a place with a rock that he wanted to get. And he said, I'll use that hiking stick so I could pound it in there and get that rock out. And I was like, okay,
Okay.
you know, that's mixed emotion, like you're tearing it up, but you actually got your rock, so I was, it was okay.
That's awesome.
So-
Thank you. Thank you for all that great.
Thank you very
information.
much, Ms. Dumas.
Appreciate it very much. Thank you. All right, we'll move into agenda item 6. And since David isn't here, he is remote, but it's the acknowledgement of the elected official retiring, Justice of the Peace, Karen Smith. So I'm gonna turn it over to Supervisor Wern, who's got a few words.
Supervisor Campbell, with your permission, I'd like to invite Judge Smith up here. Can you come up here?
Absolutely.
That'd be wonderful.
You wanna read that there?
I'm gonna read that with her right here. I'd like to present her with this plaque.
Mr. Mark, you can maybe move here in front of the dais.
I'm very impressed with Ms. Smith's impressive record here. Looks like she was treasurer and clerk 1, Superior Court clerk, Superior Court courtroom clerk, Superior Court field trainer, Superior Court judge, bailiff, and also a justice of the peace. So congratulations, you're certainly going to be a large brain trust that's missed by the county. I would like to present you this. I'd like to read this also. This plaque does hereby recognize and acknowledge Karen Smith for her 20 years of dedicated service to Green County. So, thank you. Bet you the 20 years went fast. Huh?
Some days it did.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Karen. I wish I was there, but I know you're gonna leave us in good hands.
All right. Well, now we'll move into agenda item 7, Karen Smith, Justice of the Peace 2. Did you have? Go ahead, Derek.
By way of introduction on this, as we know, as we just acknowledged, Judge Smith will be retiring as of close of business on the 4th, I believe it is, which will leave the office vacant. With these kinds of appointments in particular, it's important that there be a seamless transition, that there's no time in between. Obviously, Justice of the Peace have functions that interact with law enforcement. They have civil functions that interact with the public with injunctions and so forth. So it's important that there not be a gap between that. Judge Smith has nominated, if you will, or recommended to the board that the board appoint Mindy Claridge as her replacement. Just by way of procedural education, the board has authority to appoint whomever you wish. And there are some counties that go through an extensive employment, type of a process with the interview candidates and so forth. Greeley County has had the privilege of having well-respected elected officials, and the board has traditionally respected their nomination or their request for appointment. And so this is Judge Smith's request. I can tell you personally, I've worked with Ms. Claridge for years and years and years. And I think she would be an outstanding candidate for the board to appoint to this position.
Great. Well, thank you for that info. Any questions? From anyone on the board?
No questions from me, Supervisor Campbell.
All right.
No questions for me.
Okay, good deal.
At this time, I'd like to move that we appoint Mindy Claridge as Justice of the Peace 2, effective as close of business on September 4th, 2025.
I second that motion.
All right, it has been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion passes. Well, congratulations.
Congratulations, Ms. Clary.
Congratulations to all of you.
Smile now, the fire will come soon.
Awesome. All right. Well, that's good stuff. Now we'll move into agenda item 8. Eric Ellison, Sheriff. Discussion regarding plans for new evidence room and office space at the sheriff's office using grant funds and to seek approval to go out for bid construction of complete building, including a 40 by 60 concrete pad, metal building, internal offices, and all necessary utilities. Up to you, Eric.
Yes, the
Mr.
board,
Sheriff
Sheriff
Ellison.
Eric Ellison. Yeah, so what happened was we have had a Connex box and it has been filled full of evidence for the last, I moved in Greeley County in 2006 and I know it was there since then. And it was been over a gas main at the jail. And it, Southwest Gas said, hey, this is in violation of the, I guess, the right of way or easement of the gas main. And so we didn't have much choice. We had to move it. And instead of going back into a Connex box that's, you know, old and rusty and no air conditioning, and it's just not efficient evidence locker. So we decided we would try to go out for bid on permission to get bid on a concrete pad and a metal building and having it framed out and have offices built with electric and evac. But we did all this knowing that we can do it without costing the county any money. And so that was what our goal was. But I don't know if it's our 207 fund, and that is the marijuana sales tax. And that taxes, there's a certain percentage of taxes that marijuana's given, and then the sheriff's office is given that a certain percentage of that money. And that's the money that we're going to use to build this building. And it seems fitting after all the years of marijuana being illegal that it's building us a new evidence locker at the same time. It's kind of neat, really.
Yeah.
And so that was the thing, is we're going to modernize the sheriff's office. And our thing is we're trying to build structure. We don't want something that's going to be 60 years down the road that's still standing and still working and efficient. And so that's what we're coming, is get the permission to go out for bid those things, and just hopefully it all works out well.
Can you talk a little bit about where this is going to be?
Absolutely. Our current Connex box that has investigators' offices in it and sergeants' offices in it, we're going to move that box away from the gas, where the gas pumps are. And then, do you know where the big cell tower is? Right by the office there.
Mhm.
We're going to put the building, we're going to move that metal box and we're going to put the building right there. And so it'll be close to the sheriff's office and the offices will be close. We still fight the battle of having one restroom for 30 people, and we haven't discovered what we're going to do with that yet. But it is a step in the right direction of, you know, building structure. And so that's what we're excited about.
So obviously there'll be restroom facilities in this new building.
I don't know if our sewer line can accommodate it, really. That's another challenge. So we're gonna cross that road when we get there.
Well, you might want to cross it before you pour a concrete slab.
We're looking at it. So
Oh, that's the reason I brought it up, but
yeah,
okay. So right there in that same compound.
in the same compound. Yes.
And the helicopter won't be in the way?
No, it's
Okay.
not in the way.
Okay.
So
Well, good. Any questions from
No.
anybody on the board?
I think a great resource would probably be our engineering department if you had some of the questions about the space you need and all that. So don't
Yeah.
hesitate
Yeah,
to use them.
we've coordinated really well with Tony and got some plans on how to, you know, build this thing the most efficient way we can. And I think that is from a metal building standpoint, because they're inexpensive compared to, you know, building a frame structure.
So before we move on, just a quick question. So we don't have to apply for these grant funds. These grant funds are already in the 207 account, right?
Yes, the money is there.
Money's there.
The
So
money's
now-
been there, and it's just, you know, it's time to use it on something that we really need.
So right now we're just approving going out for bid, and then we'll see what those bids look like and then move on
Correct.
from there.
Correct.
Okay.
And the request is for an entire completed building. So we will address the challenge with the sewer is that the only sewer line to the current sheriff's office building and complex is on the south side of that building, and it's a little on the small side. So absolutely, we'll look at that and see if we can improve that as well. But absolutely, this is a solid investment in a long-term structure.
Absolutely. Good. Yeah. Build that infrastructure and improve it. So that's good.
And our goals are, that we can use those Conex boxes. We're going to give them back to the county and they can use them for the fair or what have you. So those won't be wasted.
Yeah.
They'll still be used. So.
Okay. Well, if no other questions, I entertain for a motion.
I move that
If you
we,
don't have any questions, I think that's a great plan.
Good deal. Thank you, Dave.
so I move that we, how do I word this? That we grant the sheriff's office permission to move on plans for a new evidence room and office space for the sheriff's office by utilizing grant funds for approval for that construction.
Second that motion.
Can I modify the
Is that
motion?
worded correctly?
Yeah, just approval to go out and seek bids to construct the building as presented.
So I move that we grant permission for the sheriff's office to seek bids for construction.
All right.
I'll second that motion.
All right. Been
Thank you,
moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I call for a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes. All
Thank
right.
you, board.
Good work.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you. All right, we'll move into agenda item 9. Derek and Bianca.
I will cover what is now a very familiar chart with you. I'll see if I can make it big enough that you can see what we're talking about. This is, of course, our ongoing keeping track of our shared sales tax revenue as well as our county half-cent sales tax. We've opened up a new fiscal year, hence the new column. In July, we received $576,461. You'll see in the green column that is slightly below our 3-year average, which is 4% below. What you'll also notice is that in FY 22-23, if you look down that column from top to bottom, that was an anomalous year. 2022 and 23, our shared sales tax revenue was much higher than it has traditionally been. And so as I recenter that, we're off of our 3-year average, but we're also 20% above last year's intake for the same month of July. Obviously, you know the lack of value in a single data point. If this were to continue, we would realize $6.9 million in shared sales tax revenue and would result in an overall between county and half-cent sales in $1.7 million more than we projected. We also know, if you look at this very often, as Renee and I do, there'll be fluctuations throughout the year. We hope this is a trend. As you can see here in the purple, that $500,000 plus a month trend was on its way up at the end of fiscal year 25. So we hope this continues, but we also know that things can change. There's a lot of volatility still out there. Our economy nationwide, statewide is very strong right now, and that's a very positive thing. There are also some things taking place in the way that shared sales tax revenue is calculated out of our mining operations that is very favorable. In our local county,
What is our trigger target? The last year we set it, I think it's 425.
450.
450? Okay.
450. So we are well above that target. Our budget is balanced at that lower projection.
Right.
It gives us lots of breathing room in our projections. On our county half-cent sales tax, again, we are below the 3-year average, but again, 22 and 23 were anomalous years. They were well above the average. But if you look year over year, so July of 25 to July of 24, which is the beginning of last fiscal year, we're up 12.33%. Again, this revenue stream has been more volatile and a little less reliable. We were slightly off of our projections last year. but this, our projection is 125 or 120,000 a month from this source. And of course, this month we're well above that. So we update you every month when we get these figures from the Department of Revenue. So we wanted to update you on this as well. And happy to stand for any questions on that.
No questions. Hope the trend continues.
Thank you, Barry. No questions for me.
No questions for me, Supervisor Campbell.
Good deal.
Leave it dim right there. We're gonna go to this is intended, well, this should be dim enough, we'll see. This is intended not to be as attractive as Sabrina's presentation was, and that's on purpose. It's black and white because it speaks to the very preliminary nature of what we've got here. As you know, this is the time of year for those involved in legislative matters. Everybody puts a lot of pomp and circumstance on the first Monday after the first Tuesday in January when the legislature begins. But this is where the real work of that legislative session starts. And so every year counties are asked by County Supervisors Association to submit proposals of potential legislation or legislative fixes or funding that they would like to see happen. That process has begun. The deadline for submitting proposals was August 4th. County managers were given and I emphasize this, very rough draft of what those ideas were. They will be shaped up and cleaned up and given more meat on the bones in the next 2 to 3 weeks. And so by our September county managers meeting and our September board meeting, those proposals will be fleshed out. There are a total of 19 different proposals. 10 different counties submitted one or joined with another county to do one. The leader in the clubhouse was Coach East with a lot of creative ideas on restructuring county governance and county how we do things. Some are more pragmatic things like funding. Some are ideas about how to clean up blight and so forth. The themes, like I say, I've broken them into 3 different areas. One is county governance. Cochise County is, for example, suggested the open meeting law be revamped to particularly allow more conversational freedom on small boards like ours or theirs, 3-person boards. They've also suggested a change in the attorney board member relationship. They would like to be able to hire their own civil attorney. That's a model that some states follow. They would like to address expenditure limitations. And then Navajo County is also talking about protecting their marks and brands. Our county seal is protected under a quasi copyright law under Arizona statute, but a lot of the other things, like many counties have, including Greene County, have branded some things. Our sort of arrowhead swoosh is a brand. But what Navajo County found is there are some groups that have sort of formed themselves and are calling themselves the Navajo County Sheriff's Posse. They're not associated with the sheriff's office. And so Navajo County would like to protect that branding, if you will. Community management, there are ideas again for short-term rentals, homeowners insurance. There's a big issue right now with the urban wildfire interface. Partly that's because urban has crept into traditionally more wildfire areas, both in the desert and the forest. And some of that is the way that the insurance industry has reacted to things like the LA fires. Right now, most of the West is burning. And this is a little late in the season for that, but we got fires in almost every Western state. There's some things about cleaning up property, blighted property, cesspools. Are any of you familiar with the cold plunge? I was not. Apparently that's where you volunteer or even in some cases pay money to be dunked in a pool of icy cold water. I didn't know.
That's what I envisioned that was. But
well, indeed it is.
I couldn't believe that it was up there.
Yes. And that was my reaction too. I had to go to a meeting to find out that this was something that needed more regulation. Apparently Maricopa County wants to make it clear by legislation that they are not responsible for these amusement activities. I guess people go in and out of the plunge things without cleaning the plunge bath, and then they just dump it out on the road or the parking lot when they're done, and I guess that's a problem. There are all kinds of different ideas, like I say, that would help manage communities from a county's point of view. And then there's a funding request to fund the State Historic Preservation Society or office. County Supervisors Association, along with the Elected Officials Association, Bianca being the lead voice in that group, correct, Bianca? Yeah, sure. They're requesting a permanent move of the primary election date into July as opposed to August. As we discovered in our last election cycle, if you hold it in August, there are some things that the timelines don't work on, primarily what they call UACAVA or overseas voters. And if there's any challenges to any of these, primary elections. So there's a request. This is, in days past, this would have been somewhat of a technical correction type thing. But with all of the heat and fever around elections, this is likely to generate some more heat and fever. I think things that are going to get a lot of traction, a lot of discussion. I don't know where they'll end up. The fire insurance legislation about the urban wildfire interface, and then permanently moving the election. I think we'll get a lot of traction. I think we'll hear a lot about that. Some ideas that, at least in the last 3 to 4 years, have not really caught fire. The short-term rentals towns are really pushing. It's changing housing availability. It's changing the nature of neighborhoods. I just read in the Republic this morning that in Tempe now you may be fined up to $4,000 if you have raucous parties at your short-term rental.
Derek, what's considered a short-term rental?
The industry is known mostly by the Airbnb, Vrbo type brands. There are others who do it, but it's something less than 30 days, typically weekend or week at a time type of rentals. And so they're just, it's not uncommon, unfortunately, particularly in certain areas in the Valley or Sedona or Prescott, for someone to rent a very large house and throw a very big party, this loud and noisy. And there's also lots of questions about how such properties should be taxed. Are they a business? Are they a home? But the legislature has shown a very hands-off approach to this, calling it the gig economy. You should be able to, rent your house and do with it what you want. They're just finding in a lot of communities this unregulated area is causing problems. And so, like I say, typically the legislature has not been open to this, but the problem is getting worse. And so, likewise, anytime there's budget appropriations, there's 2 requests for money, and that will depend largely on what the economy looks like next April, when they really get serious about doing a budget. We're always told that in election years, they're going to get out early because they all want to go home and campaign, but that has simply not been the case for several legislative sessions. And so when you get right down and you push towards the end of the fiscal year, some of these things get left on the cutting room floor, as they say. There'll be some ideas I think will be interesting to watch. Open meeting law changes. So I can get this bigger a little bit. There'll be suggested changes of meeting law, expenditure limit increases. There's an interesting dichotomy here in that some of these county governance ideas are coming from an extremely conservative county, where these are typically not the kinds of things you'd see from here. I think at least one former legislator is finding out that it's easy to legislate and tell counties what to do until you have to live under that tent that they created. And it creates some challenges. Last year, there was an open meeting law change suggested that really, I'm not sure it even ever got a hearing. But if it did, it didn't make it out of the first chamber. We were the leader. Like, expenditure limitation was a problem for us the year after that law was created in the 80s. And we have literally lived with it ever since, until the board went to the voters and had our base adjusted. And I don't think we'll run into that problem. But over half of the counties right now are facing expenditure limitation problems. Part of that is a law that was intended to be a 10 or 15 year bridge to another system is now on the books for 45 years. And it's not working for everybody. So the board attorney relationship, essentially in many states you have district attorneys, which are actually state employees, and then each county or parish has their own civil attorney. Cochise is floating this idea, largely stemming out of election disputes, They didn't like what the elected county attorney was telling them about what they could and could not do with elections, and so they would like to go out and hire their own. This may get traction. There's a lawsuit brewing right now, even as we speak, between the county recorder and the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors over who has control of what functions. It's not completely unlike the litigation that we went through over the last several years. Gila County is looking for ways to clean up property. They've apparently got some cesspools, although they've been outlawed for decades, they are still in use. They've also got blighted property that people come in apparently and pay the outstanding taxes in cash and don't tell them who they are. So they don't have anybody to go back and turn to and say, you have to clean up your property. This is especially true with when people have died and somebody's paying the taxes. So there's no way to really work on that, and there's no one to turn to try and get this cleaned up. La Paz had a placeholder. They said, we'd like to offer a suggestion, but it wasn't prime time ready by August 4th. So there was a blank line here. So that adds a little intrigue and mystery, to the process. And then cold plunges. That one's going to be fun to watch just because I think it'll get some press coverage just because, like you, who knew? Who knew? I don't know what they've been doing with like dunk tanks for elected officials all these years. No one cared about them, right? So
Especially in Maricopa County. I mean,
I know exactly. So the rough ideas have been submitted. CSA will work with the sponsoring counties to develop more firm language and a concrete proposal. They'll also do some both legislative as well as fiscal analysis on each of them, try and get an idea of what this might cost. They'll identify other partners that might be worked with on some of these ideas. And then those more developed plans will be presented at the County Managers Association in September, and then a week later to the County Supervisors Association. And then, of course, the final County Supervisors legislative agenda will be developed and perfected at the October legislative conference, which will be held in Yuma, October 28th through the 30th. As those who've been through this process know, you start out with 19 proposals. 3 or 4 or 5 generally make it through the entire process. Some will be changed to resolutions. Some will be changed to a fiscal request. Some will be merged with other ideas. There's, for example, 2 different ideas on the fire insurance question. They will likely be merged. And so with that, CSA will adopt and then immediately start trying to find sponsors for this legislation. And as you know, once it hits the legislature, all kinds of things can happen. They can merge and change and morph, be killed. They can resurrect, they can come back. But that starts the circus after we've done all of our legwork here. So I'll present that again in more detail in September and perhaps early October before the conference. And certainly willing to sit down and meet with each of you individually if you have questions about particular legislation. My first take is, other than the county governance, about open meeting law and expenditure increases in board attorney relations, most of this won't directly impact Greeley County immediately. There could be some downstream impacts. I have not seen a thriving cold plunge industry in Greeley County yet, but we'll keep track of those things, and certainly would stand for any questions.
No questions for me. I know that this is a important activity and that gives the voice of CSA, who does a great job for us at the legislature, to highlight those things that counties bring forth. There normally are some great ones that come out of it, and there's some crazy ones that are included in there. So it's going to be great for everybody to talk through that. I know that this has helped us, and we used up our political clout a couple years ago, with the college funding that saved Greenlee County, taxpayers $1 million a year ish. So that it's a great process. So, any questions for Derek on any of that?
No, sir. Thank you for the summarization.
Good deal. All right. Now it's for Bianca to go over the calendar. Thank you, light man.
You're doing a very good job there, young man.
Yeah. Yeah. We don't even miss Austin. That's usually his job. All right, Bianca, what we got?
Actually, for the rest of the month, I don't have anything, any meetings, any events scheduled unless the board has something to add.
Just on the 23rd, the Greenlee County cattle growers have their summer meeting up on the Blue on Saturday, the 23rd.
And do you know what time that starts?
I want to say, I'll get that information, but I believe it's at 10 a.m. I think registration starts at 9.
Keep us posted.
I will definitely do that. All right, sorry about that. That was it.
Okay, going into September, the first Labor Day Monday is, our offices are closed. Our first board meeting will be on Wednesday, the 3rd. County managers is on the 12th. That's a Friday. Our second board meeting in September will be the 16th. Equal and small counties on the 17th, CSA on the 18th. Also, our county fair starts that day, and it runs to the 21st. That's all I have for September, again, unless the board has something to add. October, our first board meeting will be on the 7th. No county managers or CSA or ECO in October. Our offices are closed Columbus Day on the 13th. Second board meeting will be on the 21st. And as Mr. Appear mentioned, the CSA Summit will be on the 28th to the 30th. And that's all I have for October.
Thank you,
Anything
Bianca.
You added?
No, sir.
Okay. Good deal. Well, thank you. All right, we'll move into agenda item 10, the consent agenda.
I move that we adopt the consent agenda as posted.
I second that motion.
All right, been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion passes. All right, we'll go into agenda item 11, supervisor reports. Do you have anything to report, Mr. Warren?
No, Supervisor Campbell, I have nothing to report.
Supervisor Gomez, anything to report?
I just have one item. I want to give Bianca sincere gratitude for setting up our third meeting of the year. The executive committee met here in Morenci. They were supposed to, well, we met in Morenci. We were supposed to meet in Clifton, but for some reason they couldn't host. So Greenlee County stepped up and hosted, and Bianca did all the facilitating to get the lounge over at the Morenci Club and our lunch meal put together, and we had a great meeting. Thank you, Bianca.
Excellent. All right. Good job. All right. Well, with and I don't have anything to report at this time. And for then the next agenda item is adjournment. We are adjourned.
Mr. Vice Chairman, if
Yeah.
you and Mr. Warren could maybe get a quick picture with Mindy.
Please.
And we will delay
100%.
posting that till after the changes happen.
Okay.
So.
Maybe we could get a